Well, that is a whole lot of parts, about $5,000 worth. So that means this is no longer $3,700 Mark V R32. We recently did a full shakedown video on this Mark V R32. And in that video, I pointed out everything I found wrong with the car. Well, in this video, we're gonna fix all of that and get this thing ready to take to Wookies in the Woods. Okay, so here's what we got. Rear suspension, front suspension, full maintenance, a bad door latch, of course, springs, shock absorbers, sway bars, engine mounts, these dope Alcantara seats from an Audi S5, and of course, some beautiful new Apex wheels. And big thanks to WD-40 brand for helping support this project. We're gonna be using a bunch of different WD-40 products during this build, so we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get there. Now remember, this R32 is video guy Ray's R32, which means we're not just doing maintenance, we got some mods to do. So we're gonna swing up to Lifetime Audi because this R32 needs a seat upgrade. Okay, so we made it to Lifetime Audi. As you can see, there are fields of Audis getting stripped down for parts. We're gonna pull the R32 in, we're gonna pick a couple of different seats, TT, S5, and see what fits, and then wire them up and make them work, because those seats, they ain't got snow powers, and all the other seats we're looking at, those are the power seats. Oh, there's a dime in there, Ray. Ugh, it's gross. It's very gross. As of right now, these are the two different seats that we're gonna test fit. Both of them are from S5 coupes because we need the seats to move forward to access the back seat of the R32. These get my vote, Alcantara, mint, beautiful, but it will look a little different than the back seats of the R32. These are kind of the safe play, full leather, also out of an S5. Maybe we'll get Christian, our upholstery guy, to make some R badge insert right here, but that's a situation for another day. So we're mainly focused on height. Ray's a tall boy, and then we also want to make sure the width, like, are we going to be able to shut the door because we have these wingback seats? These are questions I don't have answers to. Luckily, we're going to find that out right now. This seat weighs like double what the other seat weighs. All right, now we got to get you. Oh, okay. Okay, it fits in the hole. So our seat physically fits, right? You'll notice that we have a pretty big gap right here at the bottom. That means our seat has room to go down. If I lean this back, I see we are gonna have to make one modification. This pin right here. On the Audi car, there's a locating hole just in front of the bolt hole. So we're just gonna have to yoink this little guy off right here. So one thing to slice, some wiring, and a little bit of luck. One of the downsides of these S5 seats is they weigh like 300 pounds. Yeah, I'm just that strong, I guess. One of the challenges of a big rehab like this is timing. The very first thing I'm actually going to do to this car is take the instrument cluster out so that we can ship it to Clusters by Litkey for some really cool rehab. So while I'm working on everything here, Matt can get that cluster tuned up and shipped back to us. Now, since this car came from New York, before we even started the project, I did as much pre-treatment as I could. All right, it's time. And we are gonna start here. Oh, I like that I put that there, I can reach both. We are gonna start here, because this is the job I wanna do the least, which is fix this broken CV boot, because look at this. Now, one of the worst parts about doing a CV boot is the mess. Rather than cleaning these wheels, we got new wheels. So come look at these new wheels in this awkwardly uncomfortable rolly method. These are what are going on our Mark V R32. Remember, always Mark V mods before maintenance, but we're kind of doing both, so that throws it out the window. We also got some new Continental DSWs. These tires are from like 2016. Yeah. They're beat, so we're gonna put these DWSs on them. So let's do an axle boot, and I don't really wanna do it, but we're gonna do it anyway. Maybe Ray will do a one-time use counter for this video. Oh, it smells weird. It's gonna feel a little weird with the order that I'm doing these things. Like, it's gonna be a little strange, but trust the process. But yeah, you could totally do one of these numbers. You just get a little limpness about halfway through. There we go. Oh God. If you want to see like step-by-step on how to properly redo an axle, we did a video on the 911 on that. The gist is take the old boot off, take the joint apart, clean everything, grease it, put it back together. I'm soaking the balls in the CV joint to get that all cleaned out. And I figured while that soaks, we can work on taking out this right front corner suspension because we're replacing pretty much all of this. One of the other things we're gonna do is we're gonna pull this whole front of this car off and fix this headlight. In the interim though, I did a stage 5 repair. You see right here. I said stage 5, maybe I should start saying like proper Mark 5 repair, because that, my friend, is some Mark 5 action. Oh, did it come off? Ah, did it pop off? It did. So this tool, it's like a little ball joint removal tool. So sometimes you have to give it a little taparooski to get it in all the way. And in doing that, it just popped the tie rod off. After a little bit of hood rattery, we did it. First big job, we accomplished something. I probably could have taken that rotor off and made my life a little easier, but I didn't. So we got a new top hat, new bearing. If your pretty much Mark 5 forward car has like a clunk, 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 more like a pop, 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 like really faint pop. When we turn the wheel left and right, especially low speeds, it's probably this. For our front suspension makeover, here's what we got. Brand new ball joint. We're getting rid of the old, worn out, crusty factory shock absorbers and springs, replacing that with the Koni FSD shock absorber. They kind of function like mag ride, which I'm really excited to test out. I've never driven a car with these shock absorbers. Then we got the 034 lowering springs, which should bring our car down only about an inch. New bump stop, new boot, new strut top, and of course a new strut top bearing. Not only is this gonna refresh all the worn parts and get it back to factory, this should give us an awesome OEM Plus type feel without slamming the car on the ground and completely ruining the way it drives. All right, so the next logical step would be to do the same thing on the driver's side, but you may remember I said I found other stuff wrong. Check this out. We have a clunky wheel bearing on our left front. Now, that overlaps 100% basically with the suspension, so we got a part on order. But something we can fix is another problem that I found. Check this out. We have a bad wiper transmission, and I messed around with it to try and tighten the blade up on the driver's side, but it didn't go. So we're gonna put a transmission on it because that's something I can actually completely fix. Now, if you want a full step-by-step on how to do this exact job, I've done that video because it's a pretty common Mark 5 problem. So here's what's actually wrong with this thing. Here's where the driver wiper bolts up to, and there should be splines that splined this shaft to this little arm right here. And it looks like those splines are just all stripped out. Just say a little prayer for me. If it doesn't work, we'll do what we always do when stuff around here doesn't work. It's Mark 5s. Maybe this is why I hate Mark 5 so much, because I don't know what I'm doing. So I have it clocked wrong because it's hitting the stop. So this is why on these, I always test it before I put it all the way back together, so that if you run into this kind of issue, you don't have to take the cowl trim off. You don't have to take this little panel off. You can just take it and undo it and do it again. There we go. Great success. Next up, we are going to fix this oil leak on the valve cover, which means we got to take the front end off. To take the intake manifold off, we have to take the intake manifold off to get the valve cover off, and we have to take the valve cover off to replace the gasket. So not a big deal. There's also the third thing we found wrong after we ordered all those parts is we got a coolant leak at the coolant flange. Also, don't have those parts. So in the meantime, we're gonna attempt to fix this busted headlight. Little plastic weld, little hot staple action. Hopefully that's good enough. Our valve cover gasket, remember the leak all down here. So that's what we're gonna fix next. This whole thing comes forward. I've said this a million times, and I can't prove what I'm about to say is true. It's just from the heart here, okay? The most broken connector on all Volkswagen and Audis, ignition coils. It's a maintenance part, people Neanderthal them, and also they get super fragile. So a way you can try and avoid breaking them, specialist silicone. Little bit of get it up in the connector. That usually helps me get these unplugged. 3 of them are broken, and we are going to fix those 3 with some new connectors. But the best way to do it is not to break them in the first place. So the other, oh, look at that. That is from our valve cover leaking. This probably related to maybe some poor fuel economy, maybe some less than optimum running conditions. We're putting spark plugs in it anyway. These are good things, right? Like initially, I had actually planned to do timing chains on this car for this Wookiee prep video, but we ran the test during the shakedown and the numbers were perfect. And then I was like, oh, well, we'll just wait and do the valve cover when we do chains down the road. But I am glad we decided to do the oil leak. Look, electronics only work so long when they're submerged in oil. Now, before I take this valve cover off, I gotta clean the top of it. I don't want any of this stuff falling into the engine and creating some sadness. And while I'm here, I'm gonna go ahead and clean all of this oil out of the spark plug wells. All right, let's see. Okay. The threads didn't come along for the ride, so look at that. Original equipment. Factory spark plug. Doesn't look horrible. We say it every video. Old and busted, new hotness. I like that. This new hotness one looks so much better. No idea on the mileage on these plugs, by the way. So we're doing them as maintenance of the preventative variety. That's what we're here for. Oh my gosh. This is one of the worst ones I've seen. That was gasket that just cracked like that. See how pliable this is here? That's a little bit more normal. Open the door. Fast, 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 fast. Hit the button.
Got it?
Yeah. Woo. Tech tip of the day. All right, hopefully my wife didn't see that and well, despite the fact that I almost burned the whole shop down, our gasket's nice and pliable now. Look, it comes right out. So, I guess mission accomplished. Good Lord. That was intense and very stupid on my part. So there's your lesson at home, kids. Don't be dumb. My blood is pumping at an accelerated rate. I'm gonna go over to the car, I'm gonna clean up the cylinder head. The other thing is I'm still waiting on a gasket for the coolant temp sensor and the little plug for the non-sensor hole. So I'm probably gonna leave this stuff apart for now because it's gonna be super easy to install it with all this stuff off. So off to the back. Now, something that we're gonna be doing to this car that you have yet to see is a brand new exhaust, but we're not gonna do that here. So at Wookies, Miltech always has a party up at their headquarters in Knoxville. So we're gonna drive Tail of the Dragon in the car up to Miltech and replace the exhaust there. Now, I already did this before we even started the car, but before I take any bolts off on this rear suspension, I'm gonna hit everything with WD-40 brand specialist penetrant. It's got the flexi straw so I can get all these weird places that this rear suspension is mounted up in, and that'll help make this rear suspension a whole bunch easier to take apart. We're not keeping the sway bar, we're not keeping the sway bar end links, we got freshies. So I'm gonna just take it off at the top side and then not even worry about it. Okay, it's late. I'm tired, we got a bunch of stuff done, so I will see you in the morning. After some rest and some shop cleanup, it's time to get back on this rear suspension. This gives me a chance to show you some of the before and after of these rear suspension components. There's a bunch of different links back here on the Mark V, and almost all of them have bushings in them that get worn out over time. The car actually drove pretty good considering the mileage and condition of some of these parts, including the broken left rear spring. Remember a few seconds ago where I was like, it's a fun day. We're ready to go. The first bolt I take out, this happens. This is not the right bolt, so some dingus put the wrong bolt in it, which then led me to having to drill it out because it broke off inside the knuckle. That was real fun. Now I'm just going back and re-tapping this hole. I think we're actually gonna be okay. There was a period of time where I was like, oh cool, I get to take it to the machine shop or do a helicoil or a time cert, but I think we're gonna be A-okay. Well, the only problem now is I'm short a bolt. This is not safe practice, by the way, friends at home. I got it. See how easy that came off? That's how our other one should have came off. Okay, so we've overcome some obstacles on this back suspension. I'll tell you, this is the place where I was the most concerned about how things were gonna go down. So the fact that we bumped into some issues, not terribly surprising. A few notes on doing a rear suspension on a Mark V. If you have a ride height sensor, your new control arm does not come with riv nuts. So we got a riv nut, some new riv nuts, and then we're gonna drop some fancy hardware. It's not intentional that this is fancy hardware. Next up, we got our new shock absorber. There's some rules that you need to follow when replacing shock absorbers on probably any car. Rule number one is never impact a shock absorber off or back on. Rule number two is don't grab the shaft of the shock absorber with pliers. So those two things that I did there, don't do that. It's okay on the old one because who cares, we're replacing it. But for real, don't do it on the new one. I'll show you how we're gonna put the new one together. It's a lot less savage. So I'm counter holding this piece with this 5mm Allen, and then I'm tightening the nut down with this pass-through tool. Counter hold piece is this, and then tighten, tighten, tighten. And then when we put it in, we're gonna put it in the same way the other one is, with the Koni Active stickers facing in to the car. When you take a bolt out, oftentimes it'll leave what I call a witness mark, a circle where you can see where the bolt was. If at all possible, try and get it back in that same spot. And then when you have to have your alignment done, at least it'll be a little bit closer than if you get it like way over here and now your geometry's all wonky. Oh, don't be seized all up in there now after all this, you doofus. Now I got it figured out. Ah, right in the ear, man. Ugh. There we go. We've been working back here for quite some time, and the struggle bus was definitely our mode of transportation. I'm looking for a little bit of motivation though, so I'm gonna just snug this rear suspension up, and we're gonna put a wheel on and see how it looks because I'm ready. Hyped. Also, Ray is too. He wants to see what those good wheels look like. I think that looks pretty good. We had Dustin ceramic coat all four of them and the ones for the 911 before I had the tires mount and balance. So these should stay nice and freshy fresh clean. But man, oh man, that looks good. Let's change gears a little bit and fix these broken electronical connectors. I mentioned earlier that this is the most broken connector on Volkswagen and Audi cars. Let me show you how to take these off, and it works about 90-something% of the time. Grab yourself WD-40 brand specialist silicone, which is what I like. Give it a little shoot into the connector. That's gonna get you some lubrication. Then what you wanna do is you wanna take the connector and push it in further. Pull up on the lock tab and then pull out. Anyway, that's how you do it, but since several other peoples have not done that on this car, we get to repin. I thought there was only 3, but I actually think there's 4. Taking extra care not to break these little decorative covers because they look fresh. When I was building the harness for the TT, people got real mad at me because I used all yellow wires, but then I sold the car, so now it's not my problem. So if you are the owner of the TT and you're like, the coil harness is all wrong, 1, I'm sorry, and 2, I'm sorry. I'm gonna go ahead and do the water pump next. It's gonna be a little bit more room with the front end pulled forward, but what does overlap 100% is the engine mount. And wait till you see what this engine mount looks like because it is a sad, sad Panda engine mount. That's a problem. Look at right here, you can see how creased it is. It's just sagged out. So if you're doing a water pump, do the thing that I remember to do about half the time, and that's loosen the bolts for the pulley before you take the belt off. That way you don't have to hold the pulley. You can use the tension of the serpentine belt to hold it. See how much I can wiggle that tool? That's the old one. Let's see what the new one looks like. Oh no, look at that. I can barely move it, and it fits nice and snug in there. See, listen, it used to be you'd look at a serpentine belt and go, oh, the ribs are all cracked. It's time for a new one. They don't really wear like that anymore. The grooves get deeper, and so you need a tool like this. Ah, that's pretty good. Now we should be able to, ta-da! Oh, there's a chunk missing. Here's our chunk. How does it go like that? The surface that this mates to, you can see the seal right there and how like crusty it is. This one doesn't matter because this is going to the recycle, but you really want to make sure you clean the engine side. Any dirt, debris, grime, whatever, it can cause it to leak a second time. And if you hated doing it the first time, you're really going to hate doing it the second time because you didn't do it right. All right, this is a perfect time to check in and tell you where we're at. Our suspension, done. Our maintenance, mostly done, minus checking fluid levels. Our instrument cluster, it's still with clusters by Litkey, so we can't start the car. I figured that meant this is the perfect time to do what I think is gonna be the coolest mod of this whole project, putting these S5 seats into this R32. So they have all the provisions for the seats to slide forward so that Ray can access someplace uncomfortable like the back of a Volkswagen. And oh, by the way, because it's a Volkswagen, we got a bad door latch, so we got to put that in too. I had to go up to the front garage and get this magnetic tray because this is the magnetic tray every Mark V door latch I've used, and it's full of razor blades. So I asked Ray if he thought it made me look like a psychopath, and he said, yeah. And yeah, you know, I don't necessarily disagree with him. These are pretty straightforward. You're gonna pull your door handle out and you're gonna go 12 turns anti-clockwise and 12. Now watch what happens when I let go of the handle. It kind of hangs out a little bit. That's good, because what should happen then is this slides right out. And if things go right, that should happen. Just like that. Easy. Normally, you want to have the window up. At least our window works, that's good. I did this whole video, it's basically like 17 minutes of me kind of ranting about how I feel like Volkswagen has lost its soul. This car and the wiring harness in the door is what was the catalyst for that video, by the way, because it's no longer available. Okay, time to get these doo-doo seats out. At the backside of the Audi seat, there's 2 locating tabs. Our Golf only had 1. We're just gonna send it, as the kids say. Oh, it's gotta be at least double the weight. How to make a Mark V awesome. Replace all the parts in a Mark V with something from another car. I'm kidding, I'm kidding. I'm gonna get these seats wired up a little bit later, but for now, I gotta say, these seats look amazing. In addition to replacing that worn out engine mount, we gotta get a new transmission mount as well. As you can see, this transmission mount was as bad, or maybe even worse, than the engine mount that we replaced. A lot of times, the transmission mount is actually overlooked, but think about it, they wear just the same, so doing the engine mount and the transmission mount together makes a whole lot of sense. Now, even though I'm not doing the DSG service right now, since I have all this stuff apart, I'm gonna go ahead and replace the filter because it's super easy to access. I will tell you though, I really don't recommend that you skip around like this. It's easy to lose track of what you've replaced and what you haven't. So if you're gonna do this, just be really careful. Even though I have a ton of stuff left to put back together under the hood here, I'm gonna work on getting the cooling system sealed up. That way, when we're ready to start the car up, it's not gonna be a whole big ordeal to bleed the rest of the cooling. Slid right on. Okay, something I absolutely hate, front license plates. What's up with having to put these giant holes in it? And this is better than some cars, but whatever. Ray got himself a fancy front tag, and because I hate the way naked license plates look, we got this little frame I put on it, and now this is going to never, ever come off. Definitely an improvement. And Ray can check his, make sure he looks all fresh because it's mirror finished. You may remember back a while ago that I said I had found a couple of extra things wrong with this car between the initial shakedown and when I ordered all the parts. One of those things was our left front wheel bearing, which has arrived. Now, in my I work on Southern cars reptile brain, I was like, oh, I'll just take the whole assembly out. I'll swap the bearing on the bench, put it all back in, easy peasy. Well, then remember all the stuck stuff you had in the back that wasn't really horrible, but enough to be annoying? So we're gonna do the wheel bearing on the car, then swap everything over on the bench, then put it all back on. Oh yeah. Come on, old girl, it's coming out. Oh, we're so close. It's gonna round out like the last little turn and I'm gonna be pissed. Maybe we should just cut it. What do you think? Should we just cut it? Okay, we did it. The rest of what we're about to do, minus putting the wheel bearing in, is gonna be the exact same thing we did on the left side. Let's get this put back together. Next up, we have some subframe action that we gotta handle. Now, on the Mark V, you actually have to drop the subframe to get these front bolts out. Otherwise, you're hitting the transmission and you're hitting the oil pan. We are doing 2 control arms. Awesome. I also have a sleeve kit from 034 Motorsport for some of the bolts in the subframe. Bolts can only do one of 2 things. They can locate or they can hold. They don't do a good job of doing both, which is what we're asking of with these subframe bolts. Now, unfortunately, even with a bunch of heat, 2 of the bolts broke in the subframe. Even after pulling the subframe out of the car, welding some nuts on it, and trying to extract it that way, it was a pretty colossal failure. Rather than screwing around with those broken bolts for any longer, I'm gonna just steal the subframe out of that Mark VI that we have laying around instead. Now, I know for you guys that are up north, you're like, man, that guy doesn't know how to fix cars at all. Listen. I get it. I don't have a good process for that because I don't do it because cars I work on come apart like this. We're all tight in the front suspension, minus I'm still waiting on my dog bone mount. That should be here tomorrow. Once we finish the rear, I'll lower the car down on the race ramps, and then we'll set up the rear sway bar, front sway bar. So this is our big boy, 3/4 drive torque wrench. And to be honest, it's completely overkill for doing this bolt. For the half turn, can I just roll the torque wrench up to 600 pound-feet and do the half turn? I don't know. Anyway, I mostly just want to use this because I haven't gotten to use it yet. I will tell you though, that's nice to not have to struggle. Our final rear suspension bit is going to be an upgraded rear sway bar. This is my favorite mod on any VW, so you definitely want to This is my favorite mod to do on every VW, and it goes kind of up here. The only thing that ties the 2 sides together is gonna be the sway bar. We also have new end links we're gonna put on. The major thing though is almost all of these bolts have to be tightened with the car set at ride height. Very rarely is your car not sitting on all 4 wheels. As soon as you set the car down, it can put that component into a bind and limit its range of motion. So what I'm gonna do is kind of emulate ride height, make sure you're paying attention of which ones do which, get the repair manual and follow it. Almost knocked the camera over. The final ones you tighten are gonna be these two, and this is tightened with the suspension sagging. I'm gonna leave the part that attaches to the sway bar loose. That way we have a little more wiggle room when we do the other side. Our new dog bone just came in, so I'm gonna go ahead and knock this out too. By now, you're probably noticing that this car is doing proper Volkswagen things by exposing a bunch of tiny little gremlins that we weren't expecting. The air conditioning never actually worked in this car, and usually it's as simple as a bad control valve. However, after evacuating the refrigerant, I ran into a little bit more than I expected. At some point, this has had a compressor replacement, and this era of Volkswagens and their AC compressors were awful, straight trash. So here's what the solenoid looks like that I'm replacing. And what's happening is the plastic inside is moving separate from this metal sleeve. So I had to, look at how rusted it is, right? All the way up. All right, well, damn it. We may just be in it for a new compressor, and that sucks, because those are really expensive. The beauty of having 100 million things to do on a car like this is you can always do something. I think this is a perfect time to just start to put together some of the little knick-knacky things that are not put together, like the airbox, like the cowl and wiper blades, a few little things that don't really require a lot of brain power. Now, doing a brake flush on these cars is super easy. First up, we're gonna load our brake flush machine with some Liqui-Moly .4 brake fluid. This is gonna push this new brake fluid through the reservoir, through the lines, through the caliper, and then out into our drain. I've gotten to the point where I like to start on the left front. That way the fluid in the reservoir gets pushed out faster and less dirty fluid is going through our system, leaving each bleeder open until the fluid comes out clean. This is also a perfect time to install the wheel stud kit from 034 Motorsport. Now, wheel stud kits are not my favorite thing, but this is Ray's car, so we're gonna put them on. I think this is the perfect time to knock out some of our really basic type maintenance. Starting with something that I do just about any time I get a new to me car, and that's an oil flush. We're gonna dump in the Liqui-Moly oil flush, start the car up, and let it idle for 10 to 15 minutes. While that engine flush runs, I'm gonna get the car off the ground, get the old wheels back off, and get everything ready to do our oil change. It's also rare that the first time I change an oil in a car, I use the extractor. I like to pull the drain plug and just let it drain as much as possible. Next, I'm gonna do a service that's probably never been done on this car, and that's draining and filling the bevel box. The bevel box is only on R32. It's what's responsible for sending power from the transmission back to the haldex and then to the rear diff. Definitely a worthwhile fluid to replace. Now, the fill plug on this one's a little bit tough to find. It's way up here, so it may take a little bit of hunting to get your eyeballs on. Since I have an open diff jug, let's go ahead and do the rear diff service now too. This rear diff service is kind of confusing. I had a Golf R in here not terribly long ago that they drained the diff and double filled the haldex, and it nuked the rear diff. It was actually kind of awesome. But I don't want that to happen to you. Our last service, gonna be our halodex. Luckily, most people with an R32 take really good care of their car. So oftentimes these things aren't like real bad, and this fluid looks like it's pretty fresh. For our filter, you're looking for something that looks kind of like this. You need a 24mm socket. Oh, there we go. Yeah. That's how crusty that looks. If Paul were here, new hotness, old and busted. We have basically serviced all of our fluids. The only thing we gotta do, we gotta put oil in her, we have to put DSG fluid in her. At some point while I was doing something else, our new compressor came, so we're gonna swap that out real quick, especially because we already evacuated all the refrigerant. So I got the serpentine belt loose, that pops off. There's two T45 screws on the tops of the lines. And for the most part, the line should pop right off. I will say, sometimes those get a little fussy on you, and you gotta be careful and just kind of work the line out of the compressor Now that the new compressor's in, I'm gonna run our system in a vacuum for probably about 20 minutes. With the system open, it can absorb moisture, and we don't want that. So putting it in a vacuum is gonna burn off any leftover moisture so our system functions properly. Now in a perfect world, we would have also replaced the receiver dryer, but I didn't feel like doing that. So we're just gonna vacuum it for an extra long time. All right, it's time. Your whole life has been leading up to this one moment, this one opportunity to put these dope Apex wheels on. Oh God, these are so much lighter than those Tiguan Atlas wheels, whatever the hell they were. Look at that. These are gonna look good. Ray opted for Hyper Black. My vote was bronze, but I gotta tell you, these look really good. And there's this whole like gray-red aesthetic happening. I don't know if you can appreciate on camera, on your monitor, whatever, how good these look. By the way, this is our pile of junk that I've replaced on this car. Some parts got cut off, some parts played nice, most of them didn't play all that nice, really. Just like every Mark V should be. To the bin. I think it's time to get this old girl off the lift. With impeccable timing, look what just came, our refreshed instrument cluster from our man Matt, Clusters by Licky. So he installed one of those really dope screens like the Mark IVs get. So now the Mark V kids could be cool like the Mark IV kids. Actually, I need to point out, he installed kind of a prototype, kind of trial run for us. So soon Mark V kids will be able to get the cool screen. You do have to install this into the gateway module. It's just like an inline plug. And then our USB, this is so you could change and update the cluster without having to take it out of the car. Ow. And shoving screwdrivers through my hands. Always good times. Okay, you ready to see this? Ooh, no more just red screen. These things are awesome. I have them in all of my Mark IVs. You can set a bunch of different stuff on the display. You can check faults. You can graph things, which I've never done because you shouldn't do that while driving. And if he gets this worked out fully on 5s, I'd recommend it there too. So new seats, new cluster, new wheels and tires. This might actually be a Mark V that's decent. I give Mark Vs a hard time, right? Just because I enjoy it. It's fun for me. However, if a Mark V is your favorite car, don't worry about what I say. Enjoy that crap. I took the harness out without hacking it apart. The hacking apart comes later. We have got pretty much everything done on the car minus a few things. 1, still got to get an alignment. 2, still got to get it tuned. We're going to do ECM and DSG. I don't really think the Haldex tune is worth it on this older generation. Very minor improvement, and they're really expensive. So also, I know if we don't polish these headlights, you guys are going to crucify me. Here's the thing. I don't really want to do it. And since this is Ray's car, guess what? Ray's gonna do it. So I'm gonna pass that on to him. While he's cleaning the headlights, I'm gonna do the wiring for the seats. I haven't fully flushed this out just yet, but we got the Audi wiring diagrams, I got the Volkswagen wiring diagrams. My goal is to make these sort of plug and play. Basically, I wanna be able to take the seat out without having to cut wires. And as long as I can do that, I don't care how I actually end up doing it. So I'm gonna use what little brain that I do actually have, try and figure this out. Well, that's good. Okay, time for an update. So while jockeying some cars around to finish up Grant's TTRS, which came out incredible by the way, we found that this wheel was actually stuck, frozen, whatever. And after some digging, I found that this caliper is actually seized. So I got a caliper, I painted it, it actually came out pretty good. We're on a timeline at this point. So I have to get this car drivable, get it up to apex tuning for an alignment and a tune, and then we can worry about whatever's gonna go on with this, and then we're gonna get the wheel on and hopefully that takes care of it. I'm pretty confident. Brakes are bled. We got rotation. Time for an update. I'm back here at the right corner again. Our brake's not hung, which is awesome. So, took the car up to apex tuning. They did an ECM and a DSG tune. And on the drive home, it sounded like there was a helicopter coming from the back of the car. So got it up in the air, got the car moving, and I think we have another bad wheel bearing. Yay. So I'm gonna replace this wheel bearing, which would have been so much more fun if we could have done it when I had all of these things off of the car. So fun, cool tip, the MK5 R32 uses the same wheel bearing front and rear. All right, it's time to wrap up this build and take this R32 out to Wookies. As for final maintenance on the car, I'm gonna go ahead and do the DSG service, fill it up with fluid, let it run for a few minutes, shift through all the gears, double check the fluid level, and then of course, double check all the rest of the fluids as well. Then I'm gonna drop in this fresh Optima battery, and we've also gotta clear out our faults on VCDS so we don't have a Christmas tree of warning lights on the dash. We've also got this little guy from Clusters by Litkey, which will automatically turn off traction control. I gotta tell you, this mod may not be for everybody. It might not even be for Ray, but we're gonna put it in because it's a cool mod and we can always take it out later. And finally, we've got our man Dustin coming to not only detail this car, but clean up the Mark IV and the 911. And then we're ready to rip up to Miltech and get a new exhaust. All right, for our final bit, we got to get an exhaust on this car. We are at Miltech HQ in Tennessee. It's Thursday of Wookies, which is awesome. Two best parts. One, Ray gets new tips, which he's really excited about. But really, what I'm excited about is the guys from Miltech are going to put it on. So I get to be the shop foreman that I always knew I could and stand around and do nothing.
Miltech install is you get good vibes. You usually get Creed on repeat. You may get some hammering and some swear words yelled. And then we actually do it ourselves here at Miltech. So that's a big one. That's a big one.
Okay.
Here we go. One more. We're teasing the audience. Here we go. Here we go. One more.
Ooh. Those are the dream tips right there.
But most of the time, if they're loose enough, you can just impact it like I was trying to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
not happening.
That's not happening. Ray still has factory cats, so those are a little restrictive, and also they deaden sound a bit, so we wanted to give them a little bit more sound than something he's happened with, so non-res exhaust, so this is gonna be straight, and then back to the remuffler. Look at how they sandwich that. So imagine as an exhaust, it's coming through here, first it's getting hit here, and it's quieting it, and it's losing all its flow, and you come here to this pipe, and then going. So, if you're ever installing a Miltech exhaust at home, please note that all of the batch tags with the part numbers will always face down. If you're ever confused on, oh, which way does my part go, yada, 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 always face them down. You'll be good to go.
New exhaust is on. We're gonna start it up. We're gonna get Ray's reaction and hear how it sounds.
Let's do it. Wow. Pretty cool. That's freaking loud. Now I smell like straight fumes.
It sounds really good here, but let's be honest, we need to hear what it sounds like driving it. All right, so it's been a long journey since we first started on this car. We first shook it down. Let's talk about what we got. New wheels from Apex, Continental tires, lowered on 034 springs. We polished the headlights. I'm pretty confident that my favorite mod is the seats, because that you interact with every time you drive the car. They feel nice, they look cool, they're more comfortable. I'm not a fan of Mark V seats, so that's my favorite mod. The valve cover we set on fire, new coil connectors, wiper motor that failed. Geez, I actually kind of forgot about some of this stuff. I gotta tell you, I'm still not a Mark V guy, but I'm real happy with how this one came out. Now, whenever I do a big job like this, one of the main questions I get is how much would this cost if I had to pay to get it done on my car? And that is a scary, but also really great question. So let's break it down as best we can. If you were to buy all of these parts that I bought for this car, full retail, no sales, no coupons or anything like that, you're looking almost $6,000 just in parts alone, which is absolutely insane. But just wait, because it gets worse. The ballpark you would probably spend if you took this to a really good independent shop is over $11,000. But if you took it to the dealer for some reason, because most dealers aren't gonna do a lot of this stuff anyway, you're looking at almost 15 grand, making this dang near a $20,000 Mark V R32. Okay, you might think that's an insane amount of money to spend on a Mark V Golf, and well, you're actually right, but not only have we saved another R32, we've rehabbed it, and we've put someone in their very first Volkswagen, which I think is super dope. So now it is time to go do some mountain ripping. With that, I'm out. I should say something else, but I'm not gonna, because I wanna go drive.